Man, and we're back for another episode here. Thanks y'all for tuning in for an episode of Black Friday. My name's Christian. We got Chris. We got Omar. Well, y'all, it's been a busy week and good week of work, but we're back at it. A lot's been going on. A lot's been happening. Most notably here in the last couple days is that the man himself, Governor DeSantis, has banned private sector vaccine mandates, most notably affecting Disney, a big part of our state income here in our economy. And he put his foot down. He called a special legislative session and dropped the hammer on it. So this is something that we've been asking for a long time. We're really happy to see this finally come to fruition, and we're really excited to see somebody finally take this up. Kind of following in Texas' footsteps here, just barely in this regard, but I think it's a good step, and I'm sure it'll get challenged in court. We're going to have a battle ahead of us, but it's gotta happen.
See, I think it's great. I'm glad that he's doing it, and glad that he's fighting against the mandates. I don't think that it should be something that should be supported, but just my question is to like all of the Ron DeSantis like fans and all that. Like, why did it take so long? I'm just curious. Like, what took so long for the vaccine mandate ban? I don't know, Christian, if you want to answer that, or you have an answer.
It's a question I was asking too. I said, what are we waiting on? Are we afraid of Disney? Because I'm not afraid of Disney. Screw those guys. I'm not afraid of these people.
Yeah, screw Mickey Mouse.
It's no. I mean, it's the rights of the people have to come first here. It's absolutely, it's imperative that we take up this fight, because if we don't, there's a lot of people that are going to lose their jobs and their livelihoods because of this, and we can't let this stand. And so I'm glad he finally did it. I wish he did it sooner, but hey, still good on him for doing it. And Texas, good on Abbott for doing it as well. So,
I'll say this. Usually I'm for a private business to decide for themselves what's best for their employees. But at the same time, if you're going to lose your livelihood over a decision between you and your body, and that just doesn't seem right. So I feel like this was the right decision on Governor DeSantis's call. I hope other Republican or right-leaning states do follow suit. Like I've said on this show and on any of my social media pages before, I personally took the vaccine. I think it's safe enough, to be honest with you. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I felt like it was in my best interest to get it, but I was not forced to get the vaccine. I don't want to force anyone else to get the vaccine. You should not be forced to get this. You should not be forced to wear a mask, but you should decide for yourself, and you should want to go ahead and do what you feel is best for you and your family. We should not be choosing that. Families have to, parents have to, at the end of the day. It's your life to live. That's my take on the issue. Decide for yourself what's right. Don't force it, but that doesn't mean, X, Y, and Z is not necessarily a good thing. But is it a good thing for you?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I want to kind of tack onto that because I get a lot of libertarians are like private business, leave it at that. And at first, I was kind of in that boat, but the more I thought about it, the more I contemplated about it. It's that a private medical decision should not be dictated, especially, I mean, when you're negotiating a job, you're like, that wasn't in the contract, that wasn't in the agreement when you go into that job. So bringing it up and for every employee and coercing them into it is not a fair deal. Also, The vaccine does not have the medical properties that it was promised a year ago, that it was promised 9 months ago, that you would be 100% safe or you'd be mostly safe, that you couldn't spread it, you couldn't catch it. We're finding out that all of that is lies. Oh, we just went off YouTube. And now Facebook. I'm just kidding. But I mean, that stuff, it's true. It's very true that the vaccine is not what they said it was. So I don't think that if this was a vaccine that 95%, guaranteed 95% immunity for 20 years, I think that it would be something that we should be pushing people to do, not forcing, but pushing people to do. But it's very clear that the vaccine is not that. So I don't think that it's the place of the public sector or the private sector to mandate that on people. I think people need to make their own medical choice, private medical decisions. It should not be up to any sort of coercion, because in the public or private sector, at the end of the day, people are being coerced into it.
Yeah, it's a point with these people, so-called libertarians, that call other people bootlickers, that like to lick the boots of corporatists and corporations, and how they're assisted by the federal government in taking away people's civil liberties and freedoms. But they hide behind the guise of, oh, it's a private company, when in reality, oh, it's a private company. This private company controls a big part of the market. In reality, they're going to take away your part to participate in everyday life. They say, oh, you can't, don't have a vaccine, you can't come into our business. Oh, don't have a vaccine, you can't fly. Oh, you can't drive. You can't do that. Yeah. All of a sudden, you don't have a choice. You will not have a choice anymore. You'll be left out. And then they'll still say, oh, no, it wasn't mandated. It wasn't forced. There was no force. You know, it's a whole lot of hogwash. We know exactly where this is going. We've seen where this is going. It's already happening in other states, you know. And people say, oh, Australia will never happen in the United States. People are calling for a surveillance system right now. Crazy people are calling for a surveillance system. I'll be danged if that ever happens here. If we let that happen. If we let it happen, God help us. If we really let this happen, my goodness. I guess we deserve it, because it's totally nonsensical here at this point where this is going. People should have the right to make their own decisions here about what they want to do with their lives and how this.
I mean, we're seeing these insane steps being taken now. I think it was the LA Unified School District mandated the vaccine for kids. I mean, I think the ages that they did was like 11 to 17 or like 12 to 17, something like that. It's not like they mandated it for 5-year-olds. I don't believe. Somebody fact check me, but I mean, that's like a radical step when the rest of the country is not there yet. And again, the vaccine is not the protection that we were promised. People continue. I actually had I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and he was letting me know he is fully vaccinated. He got the J&J, so he got the one shot, and he got that about like 7 months ago. He just got COVID. Probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago. This was the first time I'm seeing him post-COVID, and he was talking to people, and they're like, "There's no way you were vaccinated. You can't be vaccinated and get it." I'm like, "What sort of NPCs are still believing that you can't get COVID if you're vaccinated?"
I will say, Chris, medical professionals have debunked the J&J vaccine. They are sending out a booster shot for people for folks who got the J&J vaccine, but apparently medical researchers and scientists are now saying you can mix and match. So I got Moderna. Technically, I can get Pfizer or J&J if I wanted to for a booster shot, right? But they had a recall on those J&J shots because people were getting heart attacks and other things. Yeah. So if he got the J&J shot, there was no way he was vaccinated at all. Yeah. And got some type of protection.
Yeah, but course, even those Moderna and Pfizer, though, their protection is waning. The rates that they're finding that your antibodies are, it's way less than if you had natural immunity. And that's another word YouTube and Facebook don't like. I think Instagram blocked the hashtag, didn't they? They did. So, like, I understand J&J was the worst one to get out of all of them. And I'm not pushing for anyone to get any of them. Do what you want with your own body. But I don't think that there is a reasonable benefit to getting them unless you are high risk or elderly. I mean, elderly are high risk. Mm-hmm. If you are young and you have possible chance to get over it, I don't think getting vaccinated is the end all be all. I think a lot of people need to really understand that. And one of the reasons so many people are dying from the disease is that we are a very unhealthy nation, and so many people are dying. I mean, so many people who died of COVID. What is it? I think it was like high 70%, or maybe even the 80%. I'd have to double check the numbers. Died from COVID are obese, or were obese, I should say. I mean, that's an issue right there. Instead of saying, guys, once we're vaccinated, we're all back to normal, maybe people should realize that we're just an unhealthy nation. And hey, I'm fat. I understand that. But I feel like I'm not pushing people to get vaccinated. I'm not saying once you're vaccinated, you're safe.
If we get a YouTube strike, we'll know that we've made it. So that's something to strive for. It's something to strive for. So if we do get,
all right, guys, let's keep pushing the buttons.
Right.
Somebody report us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, here's the biggest thing is people really think that these people are out in your best interest. The government and Pfizer and these mega corporations are out in your best interest. I don't think people that the government, when they put places and blocks on these corporations that don't allow you to sue them for when they mess up and that you get injured from their vaccines or their medical, equipment, devices, whatever they provide, you're not allowed to sue. I don't think they're looking out for you anymore. Okay, You are not allowed to sue Moderna if something goes wacky with your vaccine and then you start having seizures, which has happened. This is absolutely documented. It has happened. There's people that are still having seizures after one dose of that vaccine. They're having terrible reactions. They're not allowed to sue them. They're ultimately protected by the government. Government cuts deals with them in billions of dollars for these vaccines. It's a total rig deck. And people think, oh, it's all in our best interest and our best health. You got to look at the facts here, people. You got to look at what's really at hand here. It's a total control game. And if you get sick, oh well, they don't care. They're going to keep pushing it and shoving it down your throat. Go get it again and see if maybe you turn out okay this time. It's not really great. But
exactly,
there's no liability for them.
Exactly. They get to reap all of the billions and trillions of dollars, but all the people that are dying, we can't get repercussion for that. We can't get any sort of settlement. No, we can't. That it is rigged to the highest degree. And look at how many, I don't know if you guys saw the recent video of where it's like all the things brought to you by Pfizer, and it's all the news shows and things like that, where Pfizer's an advertiser and an advertiser. That it's just, I don't understand like what sort of world we are that people like 3 years ago, all the people who are saying everyone must be vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, the doctor shouldn't have to see you. Those were the ones saying medical care is a human right and that big pharma is evil. Now they're the biggest proponents to big pharma. These people have no mind. They are just sheeple. They're drones that they listen to their overlords at big tech companies or their overlords in Hollywood. I don't understand why people don't just think for themselves and say, people can do what they want. I understand that the vaccine is not perfect.
Everything is nuanced, folks. It's sometimes you're on one side of the issue, you're against big pharma. Then next thing you know, when big pharma is working for you, and in your broader agenda, you want to be for a big pharma. I like to say this: people are complex, our ideas, our agendas are complex, but I am about exposing hypocrisy, just in general. So as long as we're not being hypocritical on our side and we can expose the hypocrisy on their side, I'm good. But I just think the whole situation is hypocritical. Both sides can be at fault for various things, and I'm not talking about every single little thing. I think we're right on the vaccine parts, but I'm just saying, let's root out the hypocrisy.
Here's my quip with the hypocrisy here. We had 15,000 Haitians living under an overpass just over the border in Mexico, trying to come to the United States. The Biden administration essentially let those people in after having putting down a hard deadline. So those people are in the United States. There was no COVID test for them, and they're estimating that 20% of those people, once actually getting into the States and finally, coming in, 20% of them are bringing COVID with them. They are COVID positive. They're flying on planes, buses. They're in your communities. They're going all over the place. But, open the borders. We got to open the borders. But I thought COVID was a real issue. So it's either we got to secure the border and take care of what's actually happening here. Our numbers are going through the roof because of all these unvetted people that we don't keep track of. They always say, oh, Florida, yeah, they're flying people into Florida overnight. Why do you think the numbers are jumping? Why do you think the numbers would jump when you have a bunch of unvetted people here that are testing positive out of nowhere? It's not us. I don't really think it's us. That's something that might get us banned here by saying that illegals are transferring COVID. They are. They're not being tested for it. So how do you know they're not? And once they are getting tested, they're going in positive at 20%. So yes, it's an issue. And yes, you're a hypocrite if you think that we need to keep that border open. And yes, and especially if you think that COVID is a serious issue, we got to do something about it. So if you got to do something about COVID, you better shut down the border and lock it up and make sure you know who's coming in and out.
There was an interesting point I heard. I was listening to a speech, and I believe it was I think it was Charlie I was listening to. But anyway, and I don't want to put words in his mouth in case it wasn't. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but it was saying that Joe Biden, this is an opportunity that, you know, the left and Democrats have been waiting on forever. That Joe Biden is a one-term president, essentially, that he can go through with all of the terrible and idiotic. They don't care about his approval rating. He's not going for re-election. That's not their plan. Their plan is for him to go through with everything that he can. Leaving the border open, supply chain issues, like racking up the debt, like anything that they can get done under Biden, they're going to get done because he's not going to be reelected and he's not going for reelection. And honestly, I feel like that's extremely accurate. Looking at the state of the country right now, I mean, just the border alone, it is insane. I mean, then you have all of those supply chain issues. Then you tack on COVID along with it. You have all of the things that are happening. I mean, his approval rating is under 40%. I mean, that is abysmal. I think that it's pretty likely that Democrats are using him as like a Trojan horse per se, where they have all their terrible policies on his back, and then they're going to drop him like the old demented man he is.
He's the vehicle. He is the vehicle. As long as you have one of your guys or potentially girls, not going to discredit that. As long as you have one of them in power, you can essentially do what you want. And if you have to throw them by the wayside, hey, by the wayside, you got us here. Kudos, yay for that. And now we can take over. I've said it before, and I will say it again until the chickens come home to roost. I believe on January 20th, 2023, something's going to happen to Joe Biden mysteriously, and Kamala Harris will take over. I think they've wanted 10 years of Kamala Harris, and maybe not Kamala Harris per se, but someone that is young, that can fight the Republican Party, or at least try to put up a quote unquote good fight, or raise hell with us or with anybody that is conservative or libertarian. And it doesn't hurt that she's technically black and also a female, not technically a female,
but she's technically black.
She may be, but it's identity politics.
I don't know.
Woman, black. She's Indian. She's mixed.
I don't know any black
people don't like her.
Kamala
like
Harris is who it
is.
Like
people really don't like her.
They don't, but they still voted her in. I cannot tell you how many black people I met was mad that Joe Biden chose Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris wanted to be black only because it was convenient for her at the time. It was politically convenient and expedient for her, yet they still voted for her because they did not like Trump.
You got to think, though, people didn't vote for Kamala Harris. People voted against Donald Trump. Most people, if you run a decent candidate in 2024 against, let's say it's a Kamala ticket, a Kamala Psaki ticket, I don't know, some just terrible, evil women.
Probably ticket. Pete. You should probably run with somebody like Pete.
Maybe Pete, and he can breastfeed his children. But let's say that it's Kamala and Pete. You just need any likable conservative candidate. I don't know. I don't know who she's going to run with. I mean, the VP is always the opposite of. So there are rumors that this is Nancy's last run as either speaker or even in the House of Representatives. Maybe Nancy wants to be VP. Talking about Nancy, just real quick, her stocks. You guys seen all that craziness? I mean, she's one of the most successful stock traders in the world. I wonder why.
I'm not going to lie. She's smart. She's
Oh, that's why I get us to strike, because she insider trade just like the rest of Congress. It's insider trade. They're a bunch of crooks.
exactly.
It's a bunch of
You
crooks.
shouldn't be able to hold stocks if you're in a federal office. You're in Congress.
They should be put in a blind
immediate-
trust because you can be a stockbroker all your life, then want to run for Congress. Maybe you saw a light and you wanted to make change. Okay, fine. Put your stuff in a blind trust. Let it run its course. When you're out of Congress or you're out the Senate or even the presidency, maybe somehow, some way, then you get control of your assets back. But I'm with you, Chris. Although I'll say just put it in a blind trust.
I think
You
that
should not
that could be an
controlling
option.
stocks.
But I'm just so sick of these elites. Obviously, Nancy Pelosi being an elite, making millions of dollars off of
Right.
just the people, essentially off of her. She's supposed to be serving the people. But I see. Let's move on to our next topic. Speaking of elites.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. Everybody probably knows right now, but Alec Baldwin was on the set shooting his the new show called Rust, and as he fired his gun that he thought had a blank in it, he shot his producer and another producer actually behind, killing one and injuring the other. Unfortunately, what happened was that he shot Halna Hutchins, and she didn't make it. She was airlifted to the hospital. She didn't make it at all. The bullet went through her and into the shoulder of the director. His name was Joel Souza, and she went through him. And he's currently in stable condition. Seems to be doing okay. But this is one of those bad situations you hate to see, and also kind of ironic that he's the most prominent anti-gun activist out there in the world, and the fool didn't even check the chamber to make sure that it was cleared and that there wasn't something in there. Guided, it's supposed to be checked before you're on set and it's a gun. Us as responsible gun owners know every time you pick a gun up, no matter even if you saw somebody just, you check the slide, you make sure it's clear and rack it, and then you look and make sure it's good. He goes out there and just shoots straight through. And
I want to know, why is there a gun that is able to be operated on a movie set? It should be a fake gun. Like
Toy guns, yes.
Yeah, why is that? Like take the trigger out, something. I mean, I'm not a gun mechanic. I don't know the fancy words for it, but make the gun inoperable. Why was there and why were there blanks? And I understand movie magic and all that, but now somebody's dead, and I wonder how this is going to go for Alec Baldwin. Is this going to become a manslaughter, or are they going to go after any charges for him, or is he going to walk away scot-free? Probably scot-free. He's an elite, and he's going to go back to talk about gun safety.
Had this happen to a regular person, manslaughter at the least. Maybe a suspended sentence, but manslaughter at the least on your permanent record, right? I'll say this. When you're anti-gun and you don't know how to properly use a gun or know the ins and outs about it, you should not be touching one. They should have had a toy gun from Walmart or Dollar Tree or somewhere. Maybe that makes you feel safe. Okay, if the gun is the problem, why do you even want to hold it? You should be fearful of the gun. You should be holding back like this of the gun. Apparently, Alec Baldwin was like that, but not in this instance. So what I also want to see is what is going to be the rest of Hollywood's reaction. And will any quote unquote gun reform come out of this? Because Alec Baldwin was a nut job, and
he is, and I think he makes
and
the case
shot it off.
I think he makes the case that nut jobs in Hollywood shouldn't have guns. Great case, thank you. I think the case has been made. These people, they think they know everything about guns, literally know nothing about them. And in fact, by knowing nothing about guns, literally cost somebody their life, which is very terrible and sad and tragic.
And this man is worth $60 million, and he couldn't take a simple gun safety course. Just saying.
I don't even know. Their producer said, their team said, "Oh, it's clear, it's safe, whatever." And goes out there and then shoots somebody. Like, who prepped this? Who said it was okay? And then who just went off and did this? I mean, John
Something's
Wick,
wrong with
you
the
know,
producers.
oh, when they shot John Wick, they were using real guns and everything, but I'm sure they were very careful and safe about it too. They were legit training,
Mhm.
like on set and everything. They were making it real. But this, what in the world is going on here? This is just something that doesn't happen.
It
This is-
shouldn't happen.
Oh,
And there should be consequences. It's not going to be Alec Baldwin. I'm sure they're going to go after the producer or the prop manager or whoever.
They're gonna go after the dead person, Chris. Let's be
could be.
honest. They're
Could
gonna
be.
go after the dead producer.
Oh, is it the producer that died? I thought it was the cameraman that died.
a
Who
producer
was it,
died.
the cameraman? Oh, the producer.
Producer died and the director was injured.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the story I read said cameraman. Maybe it changed.
No,
as
they're
they
saying
went
the
more.
assistant director unknowingly handed Baldwin a gun with live ammunition before it happened.
Okay. Either way, it's ridiculous.
Why would they have a loaded gun in the first place?
That's what I'm saying. Should have been a fake gun.
Why would they have
it
a
It
loaded
should have been a
It's
toy gun from
proven.
Walmart.
And now
Those
I can't
people.
wait for because Alec Baldwin wanted to say all of he's all against guns and such. Now I want to see everyone's stickers saying my AR-15 has killed less people than Alec Baldwin.
Okay. I
Here's something else. You know how many people? How many people those the January 6th insurrectionists killed? They killed nobody. Alec Baldwin killed somebody else. It's talking about a deadly day here. I mean, you want to look at the reality here, okay? We're gonna look at the truth here. Oh, that was so terrible. People didn't die there though. Like we didn't kill. And nobody was killed there. They didn't kill nobody. The violent insurrections didn't kill anybody. Alec Baldwin killed somebody. And
Well, there was an officer that did die, Christian.
yeah, he did die, but he was on his own behalf.
So someone died on site is what I'll say on that. But I had a question about Alec Baldwin. Didn't he used to parody Trump usually in Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the past 4-6 years. You know what? I'm speechless on that. Karma is a real, you know what, right?
Isn't his brother a conservative? Alec Baldwin's brother?
Billy?
I don't know. Somebody.
Billy Baldwin.
Oh, wait, isn't his daughter married to Justin Bieber?
Haley.
Justin Bieber's married? Really?
Oh,
Omar,
Mark. All
where
right.
are you
We
at?
can't even get into this.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Goodness
we're gonna
gracious.
I don't do pop culture. That was
You need to watch
we're
politics, man.
I'm the history person. I lived with Carter, people.
God,
He got married and he's became a U.S. citizen too. If you didn't know that part either, he's a U.S. citizen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I knew he was
Yeah.
from Canada. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew he was
Yeah,
from Canada, but I didn't know he was
Just like
a citizen.
Drake.
Yeah,
Darn
got
carpetbaggers.
man.
Man.
So the next thing here is that the United States government wants to look into the Washington football team emails because they believe that the John Gruden scenario and that incident was just the tip of the iceberg. And they're taking a great interest now in what's going on in the NFL because, yeah, the private company of the NFL football is totally needs to be in Congress right now.
Yeah,
So-
I think with all of what's happening, we're almost at $30 trillion in debt. Let's look at people saying, slurs in the NFL.
I mean, you got John Gruden saying that the owners of one of the execs of the Washington football team had big lips. And he called him rubber lips, had big lips. And then you got Randy Moss, a grown man, Hall of Famer, crying on national TV, sad as ever. He said he had big lips. He said he had and crying. It's just sad. It's the saddest sight I've seen in a long time. We're going back. We're not going forward. We're going back. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's the saddest thing I've seen.
I mean, it's the mentality of when you are looking at the world, and this is a quote I got from a Black conservative. I don't know her name, but and I'm paraphrasing. But when you look at the world through a lens of racism, everything you're going to see is racism, and that's how so many people on the left are today. Who are crying about somebody saying somebody has rubber lips. It doesn't mean just because they're Black, that's not saying they're racist. Now, look, I don't know anything about this situation because I don't watch the NFL. Maybe he's racist. I have no idea. I have no stake in this game. All I'm saying, though, is that people automatically assume that it's a race thing, which is suspect to me. Not everything is automatically about race. People jump to that conclusion before anything or everything else because it fits their narrative more, and that's what they want. And it also, with the media, it sells papers saying racist NFL coach rather than saying, like, call them a bundle of sticks. Even then, that sells papers.
John Gruden was one of the more creative offensive coaches in the NFL. Always regarded for his creativity. Last time the Raiders were really good was when John Gruden was there the first time. Got the Bucs their first Super Bowl. Tony Dungy could not do it. John Gruden did it. I still hold him in high regard for who he was as a coach. Who he was as a sports broadcaster. But the fact that the U.S. government now wants to look into the Washington football team, you know how they're doing it, right? Because they used to be called the Redskins. So what is they're going to stop them from doing it to the Chiefs or the Saints? Because remember, the Saints emblem is a French emblem, the fleur-de-lis, which was used for slaves. It was used for French slaves down in New Orleans. So are they going to do that to New Orleans? Are they going to do this to the Chiefs? Are they going to do it to any other team? What about the Patriots? Maybe the Patriots might be next just for using the word patriot. And now it's connected to Trump. People are going down rabbit holes and foxholes just because they disagree with one aspect of it. Okay, let's just leave it alone. If you want to do it for transparency purposes, then the NFL needs to do it for transparency purposes and let the owners deal with it as they may. If Daniel Snyder is ousted because it is, even though he may be proven to be not racist, I don't think Daniel Snyder is a racist at all. Now, I could be wrong. He may be a racist. He may be a closeted one. I don't know. I don't know the man. I don't know what's in these emails. All I'm saying is this man and his team is going to be targeted because of factors he could not even control. He didn't create the Redskins. The Redskins were created before the man was born or before anyone in that organization was born.
The NFL already looked through 700,000 of those emails and said that they couldn't find anything else. Yet the government wants to come in and try to find racism here. Look at find racism here and then to come find something. They're really looking. They're really trying to scratch. They got to find something here. They're trying to change the narrative right now.
The team is the Redskins.
Well, they're trying to deflect everything off
the Democrats bullied them into changing their name.
Omar, it's got nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do
I think it does.
No, absolutely not. They're looking in to try to find racism, to twist the narrative on what's going on in the country right now. What's going on in the country right now? People aren't working. We got unlawful mandates. We're getting killed by China right now across the board. Their military is beefing up when we got all these people that aren't even women that are proclaimed women up in our
we got a
four-star admiral.
Our first female four-star admiral is a man. Ain't that just something?
We're doing all this. We're really trying to change the narrative here and try to focus on something else. It's really lame, and if people can finally see through this nonsense, that'd be great. But that's all I think it is at the end of the day. I really think that's as far as it's going, and I think that's as far as where we're at with it. But
if they have to keep up with the sensationalism, because if you stop getting angry for a minute, you're gonna start looking at the details and be like, wait a minute, why is our country doing so bad? People are too eager and too busy getting upset and angry over every little thing that happens because the Democrats are saying it's racist, that people aren't really realizing that, oh my goodness, the country is falling apart. And it's not because of racism, it's because of overextending government, bloated government programs, bureaucracy, so much more. It's not just racism. Racism is a problem. I'm not saying it isn't, but it is not one of the problems that is leading America. Like what was it? It was the Army that said it's the Department of Defense, right? That said one of their most important issues right now is racism. It's something like that. Don't quote me.
Why? They were one of the first organization. The United States military was one of the first organizations in this country to desegregate. And that happened under Harry S. Truman in the 1940s, right? during or right after World War II. So I find that appalling. I'm not saying racist things do not happen in the U.S. military. I'm not saying that at all, because there are probably racists in power there. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, there are other pressing matters, such as, like Christian was saying, combating China, making sure we're beefed up on our side to make sure Russia and China stays in their place, protecting people around the world, protecting our own citizens.
I don't know about protecting people around the world, but
think about
Maybe I'm not the biggest
our
fan.
citizens around the world. We have citizens in all of these countries around the world.
Why are they over there? They left.
Oh no! Oh, here we go.
Not necessarily because they left. I mean, we have embassies. We have people who are doing business over there.
Be over there. It's crazy over there. You stay here.
It's crazy here.
That's true, I guess. I mean,
it's crazy here. But it, like you said, Chris, is racism an issue? Yes. But you know what my issue is right now? Gas is too high. Gas has not really gone over $3 in Jackson or in Macomb or in other parts of Mississippi since Obama was elected. Senator Obama. Okay. So gas has not been high sustained. I don't think it's been higher than that before then, really. So honestly, that's my number one issue right now. How are we going to get these prices down? How am I going to get more money in my pocket? So keeping my taxes low. Roads and bridges right now are my concern, because they're a mess here in Jackson. Those are my concerns. Racism is not going to fix those potholes or lower my gas price.
The government's not going to fix that either, though. Let's be honest.
True.
Here's the realest thing ever, man. Here's where I see it. You look at the NFL, you look at all the major corporations, the slogans. They want to end racism, end hate, stop hate, end racism, stop Asian hate, everything. How do people think they can do that? How do you think you can end evil? Are we powerful enough to all just end evil collectively? Can we make everything good in this world? No, we can't. That's human nature. Inherently flawed. We are inherently flawed people. We're not perfect. We're not God. That's not us. So the idea that there's to end racism, you can't. You can't end it. You can't. Stop trying to. Be a good person. Focus on yourself and do your thing every single day. But don't over here think that you can just stop that and stop that and stop that. You're not a superhero. You're not Superman.
You know how you do.
How do you do that?
That Christian, you just said it. You do your part. You be the best person you can be. You treat people by their character, not by the color of their skin, or not by what they look like. Just treat them by how they treat you. Follow the golden rule. Do unto others as anyone else would do unto you. Now, if people do that, then you'll see a slowness to racism and a slowness to hate. You will, but are you going to get rid of it? No. We're all imperfect beings. And
the biggest problem we're seeing right now across the board with this and everything else, from mandates to CRT to everything else, is people aren't staying in their lanes. People are not minding their own business. They're too focused on what they're doing over there, or what he's doing over there, what she's doing over there. In reality, if you just focused on looked at yourself inside here, inherently inside here, and focused on what can I change here, there'd probably be a lot more good being done. But since we're so self-absorbed and overzealous here that we think we can change other people's behavior and make this happen, they're not wearing a mask, then stay home. Okay, if it really bugs you much, stay home and you can make the difference yourself. If you think then don't be racist yourself. If you think that the world around you is racist, you got to change it yourself here. Be a good person here, and then try to see what changes all around you. It's so crazy that everybody thinks that they can just have the power to go change everything around them. We've got to end racism. We've got to end. That's just so unobtainable. We have to hit 0 COVID cases. That's so unobtainable. It's not going to happen.
Especially when the vaccine don't work like they promised.
No, none of this stuff. Everybody thinks that things can be inherently perfect. Like we can actually reach a perfect equilibrium here where everything just turns out perfectly and fine. We cannot. This is not heaven. We're not living in heaven, folks.
It's a utopian mindset. People think
so
that it's the same mindset that communists have, that they think that they can reach just a perfect setting where everyone's happy, everyone's singing Kumbaya, we're skipping down golden roads. It's not going to happen. Humans are flawed creatures. We can never get to that point of perfection, or that everyone is going to be equal and equal perfectly. Now, I'm not saying that's not what I want, but it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's in me going on my religious spiritual side. It's not going to happen until Jesus Christ comes back and makes things right on this planet. So I was just saying. So honestly, don't expect that with the vaccine and with COVID. The best we can do is fix these vaccines and get to herd immunity, and there you go. Basically, there's always going to be the flu. There's always going to be pneumonia. There's always going to be the common cold. We can't fix those. We're not really going to fix COVID, but we can try to reach herd immunity if we fix the vaccines.
Are we not at herd immunity yet?
We're not.
The majority of people are vaccinated.
What classifies herd immunity? What has to be
70%?
70% what?
Of what?
Of people. Of a population being vaccinated. So
but that's the thing. Hold on. But that's the thing, Omar. That's the thing. If you are vaccinated, you were vaccinated a year ago, you most likely do not have antibodies anymore. So why does the classification of vaccinated have anything to do with it? It should be 70% of people having antibodies. That would be a more clear projection of herd immunity rather than vaccination status, because vaccination status, if you were vaccinated more than 6 months ago, there's a high chance that you most likely are losing your antibodies and you can catch and spread COVID again.
Now I'm just giving the textbook definition.
And true, the textbook. They changed the textbook. They changed the definition of vaccination. The CDC changed the definition of vaccine from something that would guarantee immunity to now I forget something. Basically, it's a treatment. They changed vaccine to the definition being a treatment rather than guaranteeing immunity because they know the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, does not guarantee immunity. It's a fact. Look, I'm not saying people shouldn't get the vaccine. I think that instead of having vaccine passports and mandates and such, why don't we just test people's antibodies? Let's see who has had it. The reason they don't is because they know the majority. I would guess like we're at like 85% of Americans, maybe 90% have had COVID and were asymptomatic. Not all of those being asymptomatic, but a large portion being asymptomatic and never knowing they had COVID. Myself, for a matter of fact, I was sick multiple times where I would stay home. I quarantined myself. I got tested, always came back negative. I mean, the tests are not extremely accurate, but there's no way I have not had COVID. I've traveled. I've talked to so many people. I'm not, sanitizing every 5 seconds and wearing a mask every second I'm outside. There has to be a chance that I had it. So that's just what I wanted to, clarify there is that antibodies would be a more clear standard. And if Democrats said that, I'd have a lot more respect for them. They just want this to be their high horse to die on. So
they're just pumping vaccine with no other conversation. Yep. There's more to this than just a vaccine. There's healthy living. They're not recommending people like go outside and exercise and actually like work on improving their bodies and like actually, getting out there. Like instead of when you shut yourself inside for 6 months to a year and you're not out there being able to fight anything, why are you surprised when you go outside for the first time you get sick? Come on. What do you expect? Especially when you're living an unhealthy lifestyle, eating nothing but crap, and you're not doing anything. This is like, it's just act like it's a one-stop shop here. Get a jab in your arm and everything's going to be good. And that's how they're selling it to people. A lot of people are believing that too. Like that's really what this is like. And it's really unfortunate because it's not how the world works. It's not how reality is. And there's a combination of things that go into this depending on how your body's going to react to this. Some people's bodies can't take it. And then you see terrible things happening. You're seeing 15-year-olds like getting heart attacks and dying from taking this.
Myocarditis. It's something that is happening.
Terrible. It's very sad to see. Healthy people dying.
And again, I'm not saying that the vaccine is unsafe. I've never said that. I'm saying that you have to look at the risk-reward ratio. And it is not, in my opinion, for those who are not at high risk, the reward for getting the vaccine does not outweigh the possible risk for it, as well as the fact that you would have to get it again most likely every 6 months to a year. You'd have to get these boosters every 6 months to a year to remain at that immunity level. And I mean, how long until eventually the vaccine catches up to you and you become like one of those people who are a statistic? It's just, I just would like to see some transparency from the left instead of acting like the vaccine is the end all be all.
It's so crazy. People think this is all the end all be all, and Rand Paul's grilled Fauci multiple times on this.
Yep, and I'm enjoying every time he does.
Yeah, you know, he grills it. It's just like, oh, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but he is. But they are. They all point in this direction every single time. Like, this is it. And if you question anything about it or try to point in any direction, they label you and slander you as anti-vax, anti-this, anti-that. You want people to die. This is dangerous. You're costing people's lives. Oh, how could you? How could you do that? You know, so, yeah, just absolutely just mind-boggling. Omar, what do you got for us?
Yeah. So I recently went to, and it's this part was a week ago, almost. Well, a week ago today, Macomb High School had their homecoming. I participated. My class of 2015, finally tailgated. We've been out for 6 years, almost a whole decade, and we did not tailgate. But one person got us all together and said, "Hey, we've got to actually do this." And it was last minute, but she organized it really, really well. And a lot of people were happy by it. The next day was Jackson State's homecoming, Jackson State University, I should say. And there were 53,000 fans in the stadium, and of course, a lot of other people in the area were here in Jackson for that. But the next day, tragedy struck with us. A good friend of mine, she was a classmate of mine. She was in band with me. She played trombone, and she was also in the color guard. She was fatally shot at a club on Sunday morning by someone who had an exposed weapon in front of 5 armed guards. How that part happened with 5 armed guards, I'm sure. I don't know. She was a beautiful spirit. She was Christian, first of all. She was a beautiful spirit. She never met anyone that she could not be friends with. She always encouraged people. She meant the world to a lot of folks. She was a mother of 2. She had a 6-year-old and an 8-month-old, so she leaves those behind with her mother. And when I tell you she was a beautiful spirit, I'm going to reveal her name, Alicia Brown. She was 24. When I tell you she was a beautiful spirit, it made, even though, you know, we weren't close over the years after high school, if she needed something, she could always call on me and vice versa. And she knew that. You know, it broke me down. It broke a lot of us down. Whether you were in my class or a recent graduate or even someone who graduated 20 years ago, she had that much impact in my community in Macomb. I do want to honor her tonight. Honor her memory because of who she was. She always believed in people. She believed in God. She loved God. She loved her children. She loved people in her community. And I want to address this part as well. The gun did not kill her. Yes, she was shot, but the gun did not kill her. Someone deranged that needs to be punished killed her. Guns do not kill people. People kill people. And especially in a club where you have 5 guards there, you know, I do want justice for her. I hope the community heals from it. Right now, even though we're mourning her death, I am celebrating her life because at the end of the day, she lived and she did more living in those 24 years than people do in 90 and 100 years. And that's how I wanted to honor my friend on here. So prayers to her family, her closer friends that held her in high regard as a sister. To the entire class of 2015 at Macomb High School. You know, I'm in that class. I'm right there with you. I'm praying for each and every one of you. And my hope is that we heal, we move on, we learn from it, and we move forward in memory and in good spirit. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, man. No, really, really sorry to hear that again. It's just tragic, man. It's bad.
An absolute tragedy.
Oh, it's way too young.
Yeah, especially with children. You know, as a parent, that really does break my heart. I couldn't imagine leaving behind, you know, my daughter. So it is very much a heartbreaking story, and you know,
and the sad part is, you know, this is a girl, and the thing about the Black community, you know, it's always perceived if we have children early, we take welfare, we do this, we do that. No, she didn't. This girl had her own trucking company. She had her own truck. She was going around locally, and she was about to do national stuff. She had plans to make her own way, be a CEO. She was making those plans. She was seeing them through, about to hire people, and it just stopped.
that's
So
awful.
you know, that just hurts. It hurts me because she did lift me up when I was down in high school. So the good thing about me going home, because I almost did not, but something in me told me to go. I did get to see her. We had great conversations. You know, basically she said, "Omar, you've been a good friend, and I really thank you for coming because everybody is cliquish in high school, and I was cool with basically everybody, but my folks that I usually was around, they did not come because for whatever reason, but I did. So getting to see her before that, I think does help me out when I do think about her. And that just comes with being with a tight knit community. I don't mean to ramble about this, you all. It just does hurt. But as I said before, and I'm saying again, I'm celebrating her life because she did live. Not many people at 24 own their own truck and gets to make money and provide for their families like that as a single mother. Raising her kids in church. Well, by the way, so you know.
No, thank you for sharing that, Omar. I think that shining a light on the life of somebody who means a lot to you, who was unfortunately you know, taken from us early, but I wish the best for her family. I hope that they get over this difficult time, and they're able to heal and come together with the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, so none of us are anywhere close to Loudon, Virginia at all. But I mean, I've been following that very closely. Matt Walsh makes it a little bit more fun to follow with the whole ordeal there. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, the Loudoun County Superintendent just recently deleted his Twitter account because a report came out that he knowingly lied at a school board meeting about the rape that occurred in the high school bathroom. If you're not familiar with that, the father was like literally tackled on the ground by police resource officers at the school after throwing a big fit because his daughter was raped in a school bathroom.
Wow.
And the school has yet to really do anything about it. And they're worried about pushing CRT and all this crap and nonsense. They can't figure out whether it's sexual assault and what's happening to their students already like in there. They're trying to push gender neutral restrooms. It's absolutely awful. It's despicable. Everything is backwards. What's virtuous is bad. What's bad is good. Vain things, hedonistic lifestyles is everything that we praise and glorify now. It's just all seems backwards. And this is happening in the school system. These are the school system that's supposed to be teaching your kids the things that we grew up in and went through. through 12th grade, through till we turn 18 years old, and this is what is going on there now. I can't imagine sending any of my kids that I will have in the future to a public school if that's how it's going to be at all.
Omar, you go.
I was just saying that is horrific. As y'all know, I'm in my organization, we deal with rape victims all the time. One of my students was raped and is still going through that trauma right now. So for one thing, I want to say I'm praying for the survivor. I'm praying for her parent, her father, who should not have been tackled by any police resource officer there at the school. That is ridiculous. They need to get to the bottom of what really happened, and they need to make sure they do everything they can to not only catch the person that did it, but also make sure that this does not happen again, or make steps towards making sure this doesn't happen again. This is unacceptable in our schools. Especially, I don't know how urban an area this is, but I know for urban areas and even in rural areas, schools are probably the one place where a lot of kids are gonna have any hope of feeling safe, given home life. I don't know what her home situation was. Sounds like she had a good home situation because her father was there raising hell with these folks about this. So I don't doubt that situation. But
you're in the bathroom. You're going to the restroom. What in the heck? You're in the restroom, dude. You're going to the restroom. That's not a thing. Like, that's just
you should feel safe. That's all I'm saying.
You're in the restroom,
man. And let's just be clear though, and please correct me, Christian. You said you were following along with this story. After this individual, the trans individual, had raped this young woman, that's terrible. It's honestly evil. Then the next one, exactly, it's exactly what I was about to bring up. It happened again, and that's when it started to blow up because they moved the boy to another school. Where the second rape took place.
Crazy how they didn't call the police. This kid should be.
Well, that's law. Any sexual misconduct in a school has to be reported to the police.
Absolutely.
So the fact that they didn't is a violation of law. And them going to the DOJ and saying, "Hey guys, we're kind of scared of these parents. They might be domestic terrorists." No, these schools that are allowing children to be raped are domestic terrorists. Those are the ones that are actually promoting evil within our society, and those need to be taken out root and stem. We cannot allow any longer for these school systems to become the parents of our children. That's something that has been accepted the last 40 years in our country. I'm going to send my kid to this building for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 weeks a year, and just be okay with that. That's not going to happen. And they continue to push into the state being the parent because that's what the state wants. They want to be the parent of your children. They want to be the one that your children rely on, because once they have that, they can use your children for anything and basically brainwash them. And I'm not saying that this is a grand government conspiracy or anything like that. No, not at all. I'm saying that you need to be that resource for your child. I hope and I pray that I would be that resource for my daughter when she's older, when she goes to school. I don't want her to be like, I'm going to go to my teacher and ask her things. I want her to know that she can come to me as being that like root, that rock for her, instead of the state being that. And too many parents have relied on the government being that for their kids. Like, teach my kid religion, teach my child sex ed. That's where you teach your child that. That's not what the public school is for. Teach my kid algebra. That's all I want you to do. Teach him how to write well, how to do those kinds of things. Like, let me teach my child those personal things that shouldn't be taught in a public setting. It's disgusting what's happening in public schools, and I'm hoping, and I'm seeing this in the work that we do. So many people are pulling their kids out, which is great. I mean, I've talked to so many parents now, and there's so many homeschool groups that I've kind of talked to, and they're growing. They are growing massively. Where so many parents are like, I'm done with public school.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, we're seeing that in droves. I remember watching a TV interview a couple of days ago. We're seeing that in droves. I'm going to be canceled for this. If we catch wind, I'm going to be canceled for this, and I'm probably going to be on FBI watch list. But if the Department of Justice are starting to call parents domestic terrorists for protecting their children and being involved in their children's lives, especially with their tax money being taken, then the Department of Justice are domestic terrorists. You heard it from my mouth. Come get me. And the FBI are domestic terrorists.
It's just
Your government is domestic
it
terrorists.
starts into an authoritarian regime when you start taking out people that criticize the government, criticize local governments, that are paid by taxpayers, by us.
Exactly.
Criticize the way that they're run because these things are happening in their schools, and people are rightfully upset that these things are happening, and then they get labeled as far extremists because they actually value things that are good and they just have common sense to know that if a child is raped in a bathroom, that the kid that did it should probably not be transferred to another school, should probably be in jail. It should be awaiting trial. It should not be anywhere near anybody else at all. And when you call that out, then you're considered to be put on a watch list. Yeah, I got a problem. We got a lot of problems here. If that's what our government really believes to be important and sufficient, we are ass backwards, and that is exactly what this is. That's all it is. It's a joke. It's a literal joke.
That's exactly.
That's what we're investigating here. We have all these sexual assault allegations. Students getting raped in Miami-Dade County schools all over the place, and their focus is on mask mandates and no, don't talk too loud. Now you might be no. That's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Have nothing to do with it. You pressure your congressman or woman, or whoever, to shut this crap down. You don't let them do that. We don't target American families. We don't do that.
That's right.
It's absolute nonsense.
I mean, this is something, and I'm gonna leave this as my final thought. The actual thought that our own federal government has been weaponized against the people is sickening. And the fact that we allowed this to happen, and look, all of us, I think our median age is like 23 on this podcast, or 24. We aren't the ones that did this. I'm not calling out. Well, I am calling them out. I'm not trying to offend people, but I'm calling them out. Older people let this happen, whether you're conservative, liberal, whatever. This happened when you were the ones who could have stopped it. And now we have an overarching government that is in every aspect of our life. And they are coming after us. They are coming after the people. And this needs to stop now. We have to really put an end to this. If we don't stand up for our rights, this stuff it's going to continue. It's going to continue until we're getting the knock on our door to get a vaccine. Like I can't imagine the government. Well, the government has never given up power, so it's not something that's going to happen anytime soon. But we need to take back our rights. We need to take back our freedom and our liberty, and we need to shrink the government. What we have to do. That's something that I think we'll continue to discuss on this podcast, but we have to actually make a stand. So many people who are on the sidelines now and saying like, I'll wait till the next election. There's not time to continue waiting for elections. I'm not saying like that's not the process to go through, but we need to actually start making change in our communities. It's not something that's going to be top down. It's going to be bottom up. We have to make sure that we're making change in our communities today. So, like, actually start being a parent. Don't send your kid to school and then be like, they got an iPad. No, be a parent. Start raising good kids. Be involved in your community. Go to a school board meeting. I've gone to a ton of those lately, and there's no parents there. I went to one, there was like 6 parents there. Like, start going to the school board. Be involved in what's happening in your community. Go to city council meetings. Like, that's stuff that needs to start happening. If you're not involved in your community, you're not making a difference. You're not doing anything productive. It just needs to happen. My final thought is really get involved, because we're losing. We're definitely losing. The people are losing in this fight.
Oh man, the fight for freedom isn't a spectator sport.
Right. My final thoughts are, the U.S. government is about to pass something that if you have over $600 in your bank account, you're going to be watched, and they're going to watch the rest of your transactions. That should scare you. You know, right now, 10 transactions over $10,000 are automatically reported to the IRS. If that goes to $600, every time you get a bonus, the IRS is going to know about it, and they're going to tax the crap out of you for it. If you really think that's right, then you should be happy with your vote. But if you want to keep your money, if you want to keep your privacy, if you want to live in a free America, an America that respects your values as you respect mine, you know, I respect you, you respect me, and we lead our own private lives, then you know what? We should start looking into a recall process for presidents, because this ain't it. This ain't it. Uncle Joe's got to go. Kamala's got to go. The entire cabinet has to go. Whether it does have to happen in the next 3 years, or we call for something now. You know, I'm almost like Driano. Let's call a revolution or something. Because this GPA gas
There goes our strike.
is not.
There's the first strike right there. That's the first strike right
I'm just saying, this GPA
That's
gas,
it.
I can't do it no more, man.
Don't worry, guys. We'll be streaming on Ham Radio. Check us out.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna catch us over the airwaves here pretty soon because of Omar. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that one.
Well, hey,
Yeah. You know,
somebody's got to start the fire.
you know, something's brewing here, folks. This isn't a spectator sport. It's time to get active, get involved, and time to know and be aware of what's going on around you in your community and abroad. You know, if we're not protecting our most vulnerable, most innocent, our kids, our children, then what are we doing? Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been another great week, another episode of Black Friday. Tune in again next time. We can't wait to see you again. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, y'all.